Good evening, Adrian, and good evening, Swing Left. My name is Tabitha Isner, and I am running in Alabama's 2nd Congressional District. And some fun facts about me: I am a pastor's wife, I am a foster and adoptive mom, and I have spent my career in early childhood education, but never raised a young child myself. Fun fact.
I'm thrilled to meet you. Great to have this conversation. I'm a little envious of your beautiful backdrop, but I'll have to do with this office setting for now. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Adrienne Lever, and I am the political director at Swing Left. We are a national grassroots organization of over 300,000 people across the country working tirelessly to make sure we flip important districts like this one in Alabama. For those who don't know, we don't endorse during the primaries. We support the Democratic candidates once they win their nominations. And we know that many candidates need this early money because they enter into the general election without funds after competitive primaries. So our grassroots donors across the country and around Alabama, of course, specifically, have been helping raise funds to support your race. And we were very thrilled over the last few weeks to be able to hand you a check for $45,000 in district funds. I'd love to hear more, and I'm sure that the folks who donated to your campaign on the call would love to hear more about why that early money matters to you, how it's supporting your race, and a little bit more about what your plans are now that you're in the general election.
So yeah, we were very, very happy to have that help. It came at such a needed time. We did some big ad buys right before the primary, which were super important and resulted in us winning with a 20-point margin in the primary. But it has meant that we were low on cash as we started the general. And this is an important, one of the things that we want to do that's really important is to have polling so that we can know what messages work best in our district. And so because of the funds from Swing Left, we're going to be able to do polling as soon as the Republicans finish their primary runoff. We'll be ready to go and launch that poll. So very grateful for your support and what it's meant to my campaign staff.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we've heard a lot of stories from candidates telling us that the early funds are helping them keep those staff on staff throughout the general, which is exciting for us. And especially as we're building out not just campaign staff who are working on communications, but also people who are building out the field and the volunteer programs. What are your thoughts on volunteering in this race and how it's going to make an impact as you prepare for November?
Absolutely. So one of the things that many folks in Alabama's 2nd District complain about is that our current representative is notoriously absent. We sometimes sing the song, "Where in the World is Representative Roby?" Because she's just never around. And so it's really important for our campaign that we get out into the community and see people on a regular basis. But it's a 10,000 square mile district. It's huge. And so doing that has meant driving a lot, sometimes hotel stays, and we need to have offices in multiple different locations so that volunteers and team members don't have to drive great distances to be part of the action and be part of the fun. So, we've been able to have 2 offices. They're 2 hours apart within the district and kind of reaching the 2 extremes of our district and be able to have staff in both of those locations as well. And that makes a huge difference because the last thing I want to be is Carmen Sandiego. I want to be the ever-present candidate and hopefully the ever-present representative who's really with the people all the time.
I love that. That is great. I also love the Carmen Sandiego song. That is a really great recruitment mechanism. So, you mentioned a little bit about your field offices. I realize that we have some folks here who are joining us on the webinar, but many are other watching on Facebook Live tonight from all over the country and may not know as much about the district. So tell us a little bit about your district and why it matters. I should also add for people who are tuning in here for the first time, Swing Left has 78 target districts across the country that we believe we need to focus on in order to flip these particular seats and then also take back a majority in the House. But why Alabama? Tell us why that's on the map this year.
Yeah, well, part of why it's on the map is because, as I'm sure you all know, Doug Jones had an amazing special election victory and was elected as Alabama's first Democratic senator in a very long time. And we were very excited and energized by that. So it seemed for a long time like there was no way Alabama would ever elect a Democrat, and we did it. But we want to show that it's not just for special elections. It's not just when we're up against someone who's as divisive as Roy Moore, but also more generally, there is a broader interest in Alabama. It's more purple than you think here. So we're really excited about kind of what it means for the Democratic Party to become competitive in the deep, deep South.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Tab. What does it mean for the Democratic Party to become a staple in the South? What are the issues that matter to voters in your district, and how do they differ from the issues that we're talking about nationally?
Absolutely. So Alabama's second district is, again, 10,000 square miles. The biggest city in my district is Montgomery. And the next biggest, which is not that big of a city, and the next biggest city is about 60,000 people. So we're really talking about a very rural area, folks who live on farms like the one I'm on right now, folks who live in small towns, and we have 2 military bases in the district, Maxwell and Fort Rucker. And that makes up a big part of our district's identity as well. So agriculture, military, automotive manufacturing. We're a very working class kind of district. And I think that's an area where the Democratic Party hasn't always excelled and hasn't always been able to speak to people where they are in those kind of districts. The other really important thing about our district is that we're very religious. Christianity is the overwhelming identity here. And as a pastor's wife, I've been able to speak about democratic principles from a biblical, scriptural perspective. And that's something that folks down here haven't heard a Democrat do in a long time, if ever. And it really helps to expand the conversation and welcome more people into talking about what democratic values really are.
That's fascinating. And I'm sure as a pastor's wife, you've also had lots of opportunities to speak in front of crowds and get used to the hard work of, although campaigning must be a totally different thing. And it's a big deal to decide that you want to run. And I mean, I think we're seeing all kinds of activism across the country, from volunteers to also new candidates. And it's really inspiring to see that happen. People who don't have political experience, who haven't necessarily done this kind of work before. Why did you decide to take this leap, aside from having all of that experience as a pastor's wife, probably talking to people about issues that matter to them? Why decide to be a candidate?
Yeah. Well, so funny enough, I just moved to Alabama in 2016. So that's something that makes me a very unusual candidate. I'm so new to the district. But I moved here, and the first thing that I did was get involved with local politics. I always do that. I've lived in a lot of places, and this place was no different. I immediately wanted to get involved, but was disappointed, really deeply pained to find that there wasn't a very active Democratic Party. And in particular, I saw that my Congresswoman, Representative Roby, was not doing a great job of reaching out to people, and there wasn't a great Democratic candidate on the ballot in 2016. So the candidate who ran didn't raise money, didn't have volunteers, didn't put forward the kind of effort that it takes to defeat an incumbent. And so I decided right then and there that the most important thing was that we put up a better candidate in 2018. In 2016, Representative Roby won with just 49% of the votes. The Democrat got 41% of the vote, and there were about 10% that were write-ins who were so unhappy with her, Representative Roby, that they couldn't vote for her. So I decided right away that was going to be my mission in 2018. I just didn't think it was going to be me on the ballot. But I think that's how women are a lot of the time. We assume, surely there's someone better than me. I'm not qualified. I'm not experienced enough. And we discount ourselves. And I finally realized that if nobody else was going to do it, I would do it. And gosh darn it, I was going to be a good enough candidate.
It's an amazing to see people step up. How is that? I'm curious to know if it's changed, if that environment has affected your run in some way. Has it create opportunities, especially as we talk about the Me Too movement and everything that else is happening right now in our political culture around women and women's issues?
So to go back to the Doug Jones victory, as everybody knows now, it was Black women who really made the Doug Jones victory possible. 98% of Black women voted for Doug Jones over Roy Moore, and it made all the difference. And so I think there's a lot of attention right now in Alabama to that fact, and the fact that these are women who have shown up, who take care of their communities, who show up and vote. They vote Democratic, and we really need to make sure that we are appropriately recognizing and respecting that gift that they have given us. So, so for me, it's really important that my campaign reflects that reality. So we try and make sure that our campaign staff is diverse and reflects the community in which we live. I have mostly women working for me, not all women. We think it's really important to show that that women can lead, and that despite this instinct to kind of undercut ourselves, we're capable of so much. It's a little funny because I'm running against a woman as the incumbent, but she hasn't been standing up for women's issues. She did stand up in 2016 and call out Donald Trump for his comments on Access Hollywood. And as a result, she had that 10% write-in votes in 2016. So she was really punished for standing up and doing what was right, speaking out in defense of women's rights and the safety of women. And so I think it's, she has not felt comfortable standing behind that, but I do. I really admire that about Representative Roby, that she did have the courage to speak out and say that. And I think we need to keep saying it, and we need to elect somebody with the courage to stand up against bullying.
I am very excited to see all of these female candidates to put you all in office, to do whatever we have to do to make sure that you win in November. So, we are going to have volunteers across the state who are going to be coming in to support your race, and probably from nearby states too. As you may know, that the model of Swing Left is to make sure that we connect people to their closest swing district, even if they don't live in it, because the issues that we are talking about here matter to all of us, even if we're voting for somebody who is in a nearby district or supporting somebody who we can't vote for. The votes that they make in Congress are going to impact all of our lives. So we're all mobilizing to support these critical races so we can win back the 23 seats that we need to take back the House in November. On that note, as people are coming into the district, what are the other things that they should know? Is there a favorite restaurant that you have that canvassers should stop at? Any other fun facts about the district that we should know as we're heading off to come visit you in the 2nd District of Alabama?
Again, across 10,000 square miles, it's hard to name just one, but I will do a shout out to Breakfast at Tammy's, which is in Dothan, and is in a very unassuming building, but is excellent, kind of home-cooked soul food. And there's no better place to be for breakfast than Breakfast at Tammy's in Dothan, Alabama. Other things you should know, it's hot here, so bring your sunscreen and your summer dress, and plan to sweat a little bit, but it is a beautiful place. We're very close to the Florida border. One of the things that we're best known for is people drive through our districts to get to the Florida beaches. And we'd rather not be a drive-through place. So stop along your way, canvass for a day, and then head off to the beach.
I love that plan. That sounds great. I am there. Drive through, hang out, have great lunch, and then go off to the beach for the weekend. That's a good canvassing plan in my mind. Any last words for our Facebook audience before they log off?
If you have never seen a monument to an agricultural pest, then you need to come to Alabama's 2nd Congressional District, where we have the one and only monument to an agricultural pest. A statue of the boll weevil, honoring the boll weevil, can be found in Enterprise, Alabama.
That is definitely an enticing offer, and also there's lots of important canvassing to do while you got to see those sites. When we remind people every time when we have these calls that November is closer than we think, there's a lot of work to do, and this is not in the bag. This district needs your help. We need canvassers, we need donations, we need phone callers. There's so much to do to help support these districts. And at Swing Left, we are directly coordinating with the campaigns to make sure that we can do everything in our power to flip these seats in November.